Hello everyone, welcome to your weekly reading. So let's just get into it, starting with this pre-shuffle. It's beginning in an interesting place here with the moon. The moon can be a bit of a difficult card to interpret sometimes because it represents what's hidden, something kind of being submerged between, underneath the surface, I beg your pardon. It represents our subconscious, our psyche, sometimes our intuition. Those things sometimes you can kind of work out without knowing how you work them out, those kinds of thoughts, right? It can also represent things that are suppressed though, things we're kind of keeping from ourselves, things we don't want to look at. So I think this is a good place to start. This card has not been coming up much in my reading, so I think we're entering a new phase of the energy maybe, or there's a different message that's trying to come through about some of the things maybe we can't see or that we aren't thinking about consciously, right? Our subconscious is in play today. And it's to do with this Empress energy that's sitting right behind the moon, right? So our readings have been talking a lot about this idea of personal growth and embodying this Empress energy, this abundance, this balance, this fitting into the world in a way that allows you to receive quite a lot, right? An energy that doesn't pursue, that doesn't chase, that is patient, that allows things to come into them. I think that's happening. That's changing for people this year. The January reading is clear about good things coming in. And I talked a bit about having to prepare for that. Focusing on this energy and being a bit patient, not chasing, not pursuing, not being too aggressive, allowing things to play out. I think it's very important. And that might be why this moon is here. I think maybe on the surface, there's a lot of, I have these lists to make and these resolutions I have to make and keep. It's a bit more subtle than that. The change that seems to be needed here is just kind of sitting a bit still, not to be, in inertia, and not to be lazy or not to be, disconnected from things, but to pull back enough to give yourself the ability to see the bigger picture, right? That's what these higher level cards are about, being able to see the bigger picture, right? And when that happens, some of these things that are suppressed or in our subconscious or things we can't quite access have a way of rising to the surface because we have the space maybe to deal with them because we're not rushing around, in this kind of anxious energy, just trying to make things happen, right? There is an energy of disappointment here about something. This card has been coming up a lot, actually. This idea that the past few years have been difficult and that people have quite a lot of disappointment that they're having to process. Things have not been going well for a lot of people, right? And maybe having faith in this change that's here in the energy is difficult, and that's understandable, right? I'm not the kind of person who would tell someone not to be disappointed when things go poorly for them. I think trying to sometimes rush people through those moments, not allowing them to say, you know what, I wanted that to happen and it hurts me that it hasn't come to fruition. I think sometimes there's a way these notions of positivity can strip us of our humanity, right? We have to experience the full range of emotions. So don't hide from this disappointment, but don't wallow in it either, right? Because the sun is right here. So this is exactly what I'm saying. Some of these issues with the moon, things that are hidden, the light is going to shine and drive out the shadows, right? That can be cast under the moon, right? This is the night, this is daytime, right? The sun is going to shine brightly. It's a card of success. It's a card of warmth. It's a card of happiness. It's the happiest card in the deck. But processing this disappointment in some way, I think is part of getting to this successful outcome. And the key is this Empress energy, right? It's a very difficult energy to embody because it's a combination of all 4 queens, and all 4 of the queens have to be balanced for the Empress to be balanced, right? It might take a lot of work, but it's telling us to start with this disappointment energy, to process the things that maybe we're angry about, bitter about, we feel maybe even betrayed in some ways, you know? Maybe even ashamed of some of the things we've done. Shame comes up with this card sometimes for me, and it's a bit of that is here now. Maybe you failed at something that you really wanted to work, and there's a bit of shame attached to it. I don't think that again, that's human nature, but this card is here to tell you to process that, and I think to focus on having worked hard. I think that's when disappointment comes in, when something you really wanted and worked towards doesn't come in for you, right? That's where this energy comes in. So maybe focus on how you worked hard and how you can work hard on something in the future, and process the lessons as well. You know, mistakes are great places to learn how to avoid making those missteps again, just on that basic level, right? Something didn't go right. Why didn't it go right? And if a similar situation arises in the future, how can I sidestep some of the pitfalls I fell into, right? The beginning of the year is a good time to do this. Process this failure and disappointment. Those are strong words, especially failure. People don't like to use it. But it's human. We fail, right? We fail a lot sometimes before we succeed, right? So process this, right? Get to the bottom of some of these negative feelings you might be having, because they'll hold you back, right? They'll hold you back. So the Hermit and the Hangman have been coming up a lot, and I think this is connected, right? It's a part of that inner work that has to be done, right? So let's try and go a layer deeper into the energy. That was just the surface, right? Let's see if we can get a bit more. So looking at, what we're going to talk about today, what's the focus, what the theme might be, that's what I get from the card at the bottom of the deck before I cut the deck. It kind of tells me, what I should think about when I pull the reading, right? It gives us a bit more detail, talking about why we're here, right? What we're going to look at, what we're going to think about. Some of those lessons. Page of Cups flew out. This is an interesting card. It to me, it reads as an emotional message that you need to be a bit careful about. You need to look at, because there's a fish in the cup, right? And sometimes that just means that somebody doesn't quite know what to say or how to say it, and it comes out wrong. But other times it can be a bit manipulative, right? So if there's something that comes into you that has an emotional component to it, I don't know, maybe just not to be, a suspicious kind of paranoid person, but just take time, take the time to look at what people say to you, how they say it, and if there might be some kind of ulterior motive, right? That Page of Cups to me is a card. It throws up a bit of a flair to me, right? I know people tend to read it as kind of sweet and romantic. I tend to be a bit more skeptical when it shows up, right? Okay, so let's see. 5 of Swords, there is difficulty here, right? This is kind of the theme of what we're looking at. What we're going to talk about today, this conflict, winning at all costs, right? And I understand now why that 5 of Cups was there representing disappointment in the pre-shuffle. It can lead to this 5 of Swords energy. When you don't process the disappointment, you can get stuck in this loop of attacking and maybe sometimes not being able to realize that maybe it's time to move on. Trying to keep winning in the same way, right? Not learning from the mistakes, right? Trying to win at all costs using the same methods, right? This energy can be quite aggressive. It can be quite destructive. Right? It's a card of total victory which some people might be looking for. It's also a card of failure, right? So that word is here again, right? And I think maybe someone is having difficulty accepting they're on the losing end of this battle, right? You're on the losing end of a battle that you fought for a very long time. And I think sometimes this Five of Swords energy shows up when we feel we've been treated unfairly in some way. It's very hard to let go, right? If you feel like somebody has done you wrong or betrayed you or maybe is unethical or something, and they seem to be winning, it can be hard to disengage. I'm not saying not to stand up for yourself and not to try to get what you want, but just to be very careful that somebody doesn't drag you into a spiral of never-ending conflict that derails your life. That can happen in this Five of Swords energy. People become obsessed with trying to defeat someone, and it just turns their life upside down. I'm not entirely sure what this means, but I'm going to cut the deck, pull the reading, and see if we can get a bit more information, right? So the overall energy of the reading today is going to be Four of Cups. Another kind of strange energy. It's an energy of withdrawal. That's another energy of disappointment, I think. 4 and 5 of Cups are here, right? There's something in your life that you're dissatisfied with. You're dissatisfied with. It's a card of withdrawal as well. It can be a card of contemplation, but the energy that's coming through very strongly here with that 5 of Cups in the pre-shuffle, that 5 of Swords before the cut, and now this 4 of Cups, I'm just getting heavy disappointment. Something has gone wrong, something has failed, and someone's having difficulty processing it maybe. Yeah. This Wheel of Fortune that's behind this 4 of Cups is important, right? It's saying that there's an opportunity here for everything to change. This 4 of Cups is kind of a bit of a danger card for me, because what happens is the man in the card, the person in the card, is sitting up against a tree looking at 3 cups, focused on these relationships is how I see them that maybe haven't gone well, right? Something emotional that hasn't gone well. And there's an Ace of Cups here that's coming into them that they can't see, right? They're too focused on what has failed, right? What's gone wrong, what they're dissatisfied with. Wheel of Fortune is here to say there is an energy of profound change here, right? A huge shift, but you have to look up. These major arcana cards cannot fix your life. They can just create the energy for you to flow through and to act on, right? The Wheel of Fortune can't fix things for anyone. Someone has to act. So again, processing this disappointment, allowing yourself to look up and see what's coming in, that's very important here. 2 of Wands is behind that Wheel of Fortune, right? A card of strategic planning, right? Look up and look outward, right? Look up and look outward. Yeah, look what you're planning to head towards. The 10 of Pentacles, having it all, right? But you have to process that disappointment and failure and look up. I'm going to pull a Celtic cross today. I think that's the best spread to use. So what's the issue for everyone? Yeah, 7 of Cups. I'm not surprised to see this. I think what happens sometimes in that 5 of Cups energy, especially when you add the kind of energy of aggression to it, their minds get confused, right? And that's what I'm picking up from the 7 of Cups. It's somebody who doesn't necessarily, it's not that they don't know what to do. It's that there's something around them. I'm seeing these clouds, this haze, it's almost like a poison gas or something that is making someone not be able to think clearly. Right? That it's more toxic than just being overwhelmed by choices. It's that the toxicity is clouding someone's mind, right? It's not that this person can't make this decision. The way I usually read this card is that this person is overwhelmed and they don't know what to do and they're indecisive. That's not what I'm getting here today. That 5 of Swords energy is ringing through this, right? That toxicity is making somebody inclined to choose the wrong cup. I think for most people, the right choice is obvious. But to make the right choice, you have to let go of that need to win at all costs, right? You need to move on from something. I don't know what that is. That's the issue. What's the challenge? It's going to be interesting. Four of Swords. Another card of withdrawal. It's a card of rest and rejuvenation. It's a card of it often shows up after times of mental stress, which I think the seven of cups represents. That Five of Swords energy can be distressing, always in that conflict and these kind of negative sides of yourself coming out, right? This Four of Swords is a challenge because it's necessary, and I don't think someone is heading towards this energy. That Four of Cups, seems to be a bit more prevalent, that energy of sitting in a disappointment. This is an energy of rejuvenation, right? There can be an energy of contemplation here. It's kind of like a minor arcana hermit, right? You go off in isolation and you deal with things. It's disengaging from that conflict, right? But in a way that allows your mind to clear itself, right? Sitting in disappointment is not going to do that, right? So, okay, what's the crown of this reading? What's on your mind, right? What's on your mind? Yeah, the Ace of Pentacles, a stable new beginning. The most stable new beginning. The problem with the Ace of Pentacles sometimes is that it moves very slowly, this energy. Very, very slowly. And the frustration of that sometimes, it can feel like you're failing when maybe something good is just around the corner, which is what we're seeing. And in that frustration, that Five of Swords energy can thrive, as well as this negative Seven of Cups, right? Okay, so what's at the root of the reading? Interesting. The Star, healing. So there is an energy here, like in your real world, right? That you're experiencing. You can feel this energy of things wanting to balance and heal. And I would advise anyone watching this reading to lean into this, right? Lean into it. Jump in feet first. Run away from the toxicity and jump feet first into this star energy. It's right here, right? It's right here. It's all around you, right? What's in the recent past? Yeah, Ten of Wands. I'm not surprised. Something very burdensome has been happening. Something very burdensome is happening. This energy can break a person, right? If it's not dealt with. But the energy is here to heal. The energy of a new beginning is here, right? Sitting in the disappointment is holding on to these sticks. Yeah, this is what there's a burden someone has to drop. I don't know what that is, right? I don't know what that is. It's going to be different for everyone. It's going to be different for everyone. But that's been coming through clearly. That people are dealing with burdensome situations. I think mostly relationships. Burdensome people, right? And what do you do about that when it's somebody who you're very close to? It might be a family member. It might be a very close friend. It might be your spouse, right? What do you do when it's a person? Somebody who's coming through as a bit toxic, right? What do you do when the burden is a person? Somebody maybe you have some kind of commitment to in some way, right? Someone you feel, you've agreed to meet certain obligations and take on certain responsibilities where they're concerned. And it's all become a burden. Not necessarily because of having to help them or support them or whatever. I'm getting more that it's somebody's personality that's the problem. When that Five of Swords energy comes up, it tells me that somebody is somebody in that situation usually likes conflict and drives conflict and creates circumstances where in order to engage with them, you have to want to do combat almost, right? So some of that is here for some of you. What's in the near future? Yeah, I'm not surprised to see the Tower. I am not surprised to see the Tower. Like I said, I got the energy of this, the Ten of Wands being at a breaking point. Someone's gonna break, right? And like I said, that Seven of Cups, that kind of toxic haze that's here. Yeah, something is going to give and it's going to be explosive. I don't know what yet. I'm gonna clarify the Tower when we move on a bit further, right? Okay, so what's inside you? What's your ego telling you? The Three of Cups, this card has been coming up a lot. And I think the meaning here is the same. It's the question of who do I reconcile with? Who do I have in my life and how are they in my life? Question is lingering. This, I think, is the key to processing that disappointment energy, that energy of failure. It's looking at what's not right in your close relationships and finding ways to shift that energy in your life. For some of you, it's going to mean you have to cut some people out and find new relationships. Others of you, it might be creating distance. Some of you, you're going to have to set, whatever the case is, you're going to have to set firm boundaries. I think that's coming through, right? I think that's coming through. So who do you reconcile with, right? Who do you have in your life? Who do you share your emotions with, right? Three of Cups, very important card. What's in your environment? What's around you? The Knight of Cups. So there's an energy of somebody wanting to give you a real emotional offer, right? Remember I said to be a bit wary of the Page of Cups? That doesn't apply to the Knight of Cups. It would take a whole lot of context for me to read the Knight of Cups as deceptive, right? It would take a lot to come out. This Knight of Cups carries a genuine emotional offer, sometimes an apology. So for some of you, that win at all cost energy is about somebody who was wrong, accepting that they were wrong and apologizing for it, right? But I think that sometimes that's just not going to happen, right? People are too proud. People are too selfish. People don't like to admit they were wrong, right? So if you're holding out for an apology, I would rethink that, right? But there is an energy here of somebody coming in with a real emotional offer that I think is going to be good for you. That can answer this question of who do I reconcile with? The Three of Cups, right? I think the answer is right. It's around you. But again, this Four of Cups, maybe you can't see it, right? You can't see it because you're focused on what's gone wrong. So who around you seems to be, a good person who cares about you and is willing to give you some kind of emotional connection, to participate in that with you in a way that benefits you emotionally, that feels good. That isn't like cranked up with this hostility and this toxicity, right? So what are your hopes and fears? There's that Page of Cups, yeah. There's that Page of Cups. This is why I like to do the pre-shuffle on camera. I like to look at the bottom of the deck. I include that information because it gives the cards that are influencing my interpretation here, and the chance to repeat, right? Yeah. This makes perfect sense that you're caught in this conflict, this drama, this emotional, I don't know, obstacle course, this gauntlet of some kind. It feels very exhausting to me. It feels like it's too much, that somebody feels like they're going to be broken, right? It's been breaking you down. And the fear is that whoever comes in next, right, this Knight of Cups is going to show up in maybe the same way these people did, right? I get the impression that if this reading makes sense to you, if you feel like I'm describing something that's happening in your life, one of the reasons those people are able to hold on to you and to other people as well is that they have some kind of emotional manipulation tactics down pat, right? They have some kind of emotional manipulation tactics down pat that are, yeah, that when you're on the receiving end of them, it's violating, and it causes a lot of resentment, and it's poisonous, that toxic gas I was talking about, right? So the hope is you get away from it and that someone comes in with a real offer. The fear is that when someone comes in with what looks to you to be a real offer, it might be more of the same. It might be more emotional manipulation. So we're going right back to what I said about when someone comes into you, right? Look and see if there's a fish in the cup and think about why there might be a fish in the cup, right? But I think whoever this is who's coming towards you, they're more mature than a page. It's a knight, right? So I think you'll be able to tell, right? I think you'll be able to tell. What's the potential final outcome? It's the Six of Pentacles, right? The Six of Pentacles it's a card that indicates that something is out of balance and that the ability to create balance is coming and it's here, right? So remember I said to focus on moving forward. Yeah, focus on this new beginning. That Two of Wands that came up, the idea of strategic planning. Like just keep moving forward in small ways, right? Creating balance in your life is possible. I think this reading is coming out this way because someone doesn't know how to do that yet. But this energy is telling me that it's not going to be hugely difficult, right? The Six of Pentacles is often a card of generosity, like, giving more, looking for equal give and take. It's about identifying who those people are, I think, going back to this Three of Cups, who do I reconcile with? Yeah, who do I engage in equal give and take with? That's part of this choice, right? Who's going to honor this, right? Six of Pentacles and say, you know what, yeah, we need to be more generous with each other and we need to work together in a more harmonious way, right? Yeah, so this to me is saying that something has been unfair in relationships, something in people's lives feels unfair. Something feels unfair, and this need for balance is here, right? So as you move forward, just keep thinking about reciprocation, right? That's a part of any relationship. I think what's coming through is that there's a lack of reciprocation, and that somebody in this equation is very domineering, someone is aggressive, someone is toxic, right? And the question of how to deal with that is permeating over everything, right? That's the question. So the most important card here, I think, is this Tower, right? So I am going to do a quick clarification on, let me see what deck to use. The star is on the bottom of that one. Let me see. I'm going to use this. I'm a bit conflicted about whether to use the one with the Six of Pentacles at the bottom or the one with the star at the bottom. I'm going to use the one with the star at the bottom, and here's why. The star follows the Tower, right? So in a way, I think this Tower energy has to happen before this star energy really, does its work, right? Sometimes when I see a star in a reading, I almost infer that a tower happened, right? But a tower is right here. So I'm going to pull on it, right? I'm going to pull on it and try and get a bit more information about what this is, like what this sudden change is, right? Because I get the impression that for most of you, this situation is very long-standing. You've been carrying these 10 wands for a very long time, right? And now something is going to give you. You've been in this toxic gas, this toxic haze for a very long time. And then something gives. So the Eight of Swords flipped over, this idea of a lot of anxiety. Yeah, I understand that, feeling trapped mentally, right? So maybe this Tower coming down is in your mind, like there's something mental that breaks down and gives. Yeah, the Hangman is here, right? The Hangman is here, this idea of changing perspective. Yeah, this idea of changing perspective is here. So sometimes I'll shuffle, and when cards flip out, I'll take them, and other times I'll keep shuffling. I feel like I get clearer messages when I let the deck settle a bit, But it just depends, follow your intuition when you're doing these readings. So it just depends on how the energy is coming through. So right now, the Tower is a volatile energy. So it kind of blows everything up. So I think it's better to take the approach of letting the deck settle a bit, right? And try and get to what the most important message is, right? There's a lot, when the Tower strikes, a lot happens, right? A lot happens. I'm trying to get to the bottom of what this big change is. It's going to be, maybe cataclysmic is a bit too overly dramatic, but I don't think it's an understatement for some of you. Because whatever this is, it's going to end a very long pattern of struggle in your life. And for some of you, maybe even abuse. Like I'm picking up emotional abuse here. Emotional and psychological abuse. Like, yes, for some of you, someone is very manipulative and very toxic and very aggressive, right? But they know how to look like this innocent Page of Cups. Like, what? Oh my God, it wasn't me. What do you mean? They might have a lot of people fooled, and that's why it's hard to deal with this situation. Yeah. This person knows how to present themselves in a way that makes them look harmless. Yeah. I'm getting a very manipulative energy. I'm just looking at, there's a snake in the cup at the top right hand corner of that Seven of Cups, and that's what I'm focused on. Yeah, someone here is, for some of you, this is, I can understand now why this is so difficult. For some of you, there's that Hermit I mentioned in the pre-shuffle, I think. This idea of that internal work that needs to be done. Yeah. Hermit can be a big card. Like people look at the Tower and they see the drama, but the Hermit, some of those internal changes, they can cause a Tower to strike. Because what happens when you change on that profound level and these people's attacks and methods and manipulations don't work anymore, it destabilizes everything. It destabilizes everything. And I think that's why that Five of Swords is here, that win at all costs. Somebody wants to regain control at all costs. Because someone has been doing that internal work, and someone has lost control of you. If this is resonating, someone has lost control of you. They've lost the ability to be able to manipulate you easily. Right? There's a way now that you've wised up to their schemes, and you've wised up to their role in your life, right? And someone is doing everything they can to keep you connected. And this is what happens a lot. People choose the path of this intense conflict, right? To keep people attached to them, right? It's a part of this. If I can't have you, no one can energy. That's how that starts sometimes, right? Someone wants some distance from someone, or maybe they even want to move on completely. And it happens a lot when some of these toxic people, these narcissists in particular, get divorced, right? It's hellish. They won't let go. They keep you tied up for years sometimes, right? Years. That's what I'm getting here. Somebody somebody has lost control, and there is some kind of battle raging about getting that control back, right? For some of you. I'm going to see, though, like why this Tower is here. Yeah, it's big. Because this is a positive reading for you, right? So this Tower, I don't think is going to be bad for you. I think it's going to be bad for this toxic person, right? This is a very good reading for you. Because the Tower, it's the near future, and it's tied back to this potential outcome of things coming into balance, right? Being able to identify what needs to be put into balance and to work on that, right? Okay. Okay. So why is the Tower here? Yeah, there's some kind of movement, some kind of quick action, right? With the Eight of Wands. A lot of communication. Yeah. A lot of communication. I can understand why that would be a problem sometimes, right? like I said, these manipulative people, whoever is coming through, they have a lot of people fooled, right? And sometimes when all these wands start flying, right, there's a way the message that this person is not what they seem starts to get out, right? It's behind this. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see this. I'm not surprised to see a high priestess, this idea of, so it goes back to that moon energy, the idea of our subconscious, but also of things that are hidden, right? So I think maybe some of you you're not necessarily covering up for this person, but you don't like to talk about the difficulties between you, right? It's hidden in some way, right? And I think this Eight of Wands is piercing through this veil, right? Piercing through this pomegranate curtain, where the high priestess hides their secrets, right? Under here we have the King of Wands. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see this. So what's happening here, this is connected back to something I've been pulling on that I call the King and Queen of Wands soap opera. I'm not surprised to see it here. It seems to like kind of pop up in some of my readings when certain issues come up. So I don't know if I'm going to do an extended for this specifically, or if I'll just link out to the first quote unquote episode of this soap opera I've been pulling on. This King of Wands is shown up as somebody who's in a lot of pain, right? This person shows up as the person who's being controlled in those readings, like the victim of the emotional abuse, right? And there's a lot of heartbreak there. Yeah, and this Page of Wands comes up. Remember I said that you don't have to do too much, just keep taking small steps and you'll have success here with the Six of Wands. Yeah, so for some of you, that King and Queen of Wands soap opera is going to resonate, right? There's a lot of communication happening now, or will soon happen in this near future energy with this Tower, right? A lot of action. And when something, I think about these wands flying, is going to destabilize the situation a lot, right? So why is the Tower here? I'm going to pull two cards on top. It's here, but yes, it goes back to exactly what I was saying. It's here because of this Five of Swords. The Tower is here because of this Five of Swords. It's exactly what I've been saying. Why is the Five of Swords here? Yeah, the Chariot, I'm not surprised to see this. The Chariot is an energy of moving forward, and it's very determined, right? It's very, very determined. When someone gets into the Chariot and takes off, the journey is often very difficult, but it's almost impossible to get them to turn around. So what has been coming out in that King and Queen of Wands soap opera very clearly is this energy of that King of Wands wanting to leave is very clear. But it usually shows up as a minor arcana, right? As a Six of Swords or an Eight of Cups. The Six of Swords represents, sailing away, out of rough waters into calm waters. The Eight of Cups represents leaving behind something that you've invested a lot of time into. The difference between those energies and the Chariot is that you can turn those cards around, sometimes without much effort, right? If that King of Wands or whoever is this reading resonates for gets into this Chariot, it's going to cause a Tower. So this Five of Swords is about stopping someone from getting into this Chariot. I understand now why that Empress was there in the pre-shuffle under the moon, right? Each of these cards represents aspects of ourselves, right? Only a balanced emperor can drive the Chariot, right? And the thing that balances the emperor is the Empress, right? So remember, the Empress was below that moon. It's part of what's submerged, I think, in everyone who's watching this reading. That's why this instruction of bring that out, focus on that side of yourself, right? So if you're not familiar with the archetype of the Empress, maybe go and Google it and read some interpretations about what that energy means and see how it fits into your life. Yeah, that King of Wands, the problem with that energy is that it can be very arrogant. It can be selfish. It can be self-focused. it can actually lead into some of these kind of narcissistic kind of tendencies, right? That kind of a bit manipulation kind of vibes, a bit just kind of selfish and arrogant, right? It's a difficult aspect of that emperor energy, I beg your pardon. Because the emperor can be very prideful and kind of dictatorial, right? And that King of Wands side of it can rile that up, right? That Empress showing up can balance that, right? So if this sounds like something that's happening in your life, there's a toxic person or group of people who know how to push your buttons and to get you into this Five of Swords, that win at all costs, that kind of King of Wands, overly ambitious, overly domineering, kind of arrogant, and even a bit aggressive sometimes. Yeah, dealing with this Five of Swords with different tactics, more from an Empress side. I don't like the kind of masculine feminine divide. I don't know if it's particularly useful, but it's just about the energy being polarized, and those are the words people use, and people are familiar with them, so I'll just say that, bringing up that more feminine side of yourself, right? Balancing that inner emperor and empress is the key to this Chariot energy, right? If you are in this situation and you can get into this Chariot, it's gonna strike everything down. These people, it's gonna strike everything down. They're gonna completely lose control over you. You're gonna be able to move on, and things are gonna come into balance, right? So I'm not going to extend this. What I'm going to do is think about the way this reading fits into that soap opera and some of my earlier readings, and provide links to those, so you can catch up on that if you haven't, right? But yeah, this Chariot is the most important card. This Chariot and that Empress that were in the pre-shuffle are the most important cards. Balance the inner Emperor and Empress inside of you, and you can get into this Chariot, and it's going to be these people who are trying to control you, or that King of Wands side of you, are going to be in for a very nasty surprise when this Tower strikes. All right, so that's the reading. Thanks for watching, and I'll provide links to that King and Queen of Wands soap opera so you can catch up on it. That will function as the extended. It's a multi-part mini-series. So have fun watching it. Some unpleasant stuff comes out, but I always say, process this, take what resonates, and if it does, obviously take it seriously in terms of how to apply it to your life. But never take these readings so seriously that they function as replacing your own judgment, right? So that's why I say, enjoy the readings even when they're unpleasant, right? Don't turn them into like your personal instruction manual. It's your life. You get to decide. You get to choose. You have to process this information, right? All right, that's the reading. Thanks for watching.